It is time for Legally Serving Rockland with your host, Michael Diederich. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Steve. How are you today?
Pretty good, thank you. Really good.
Yeah, well, happy holidays to all our Jewish listeners. Hope everybody had a great weekend last weekend. I was out doing some politicking. The weather was great. The campaign message is getting out. And as the listeners probably know, I'm running this program because I'm running for district attorney of Rockland County as an independent. You may have seen some signs out there, what happens in Ramapo will not stay in Ramapo, or should I stay or should I go? A lot of people are asking that question in Rockland County. Do we need to leave Rockland County? And I'm running because I kind of view the county as the ship Titanic headed toward icebergs, and I want to take the helm and help correct course, get us to safer, calmer waters. The many issues we find here in Rockland include non-transparency in government. We see corruption in government, especially the numerous public officials in the town of Ramapo who have been led off to jail or prison. And we have institutional problems, like I have been mentioning. The issue of education of children is very important to me, both children in private religious schools and children in public schools. We look at the East Ramapo Central School District and see the problems there for both the public school and private school children. And I'm an adamant believer that our country needs an informed, educated citizenry for our democracy to work. And for that, we need sound, secular education of all children so that they can become good participating citizens in our country. One of the reason I'm running as an independent is because my opponent was able to get on the Democratic and the Republican and the conservative lines on the ballot. And people ask, well, how did that happen? Well, as to getting on the Republican and conservative line, people need to ask the leadership of those two parties. As to the Democratic line, my opponent won the Democratic primary, by receiving, in some districts, 99% or so of the ultra-Orthodox vote. And I have a feeling that if there had been a Republican primary, probably he would have received 99% of the ultra-Orthodox bloc vote on the Republican line at all. That's the power today of the ultra-Orthodox community and specifically the leadership. I think it's a huge problem for the county and also the state. We see the governor of the state coming down and bringing the government checkbook down to meet with the ultra-Orthodox leaders. That's a big problem for our democracy as I see it, because the founding fathers of this country had a strong worry about factions, including what they described in the Federalist Papers as the evils of religious factions. They understood that factions can be powerful and dangerous to a democracy, and that's why, like I mentioned, that's why our country is based upon individual liberty and the rights of individuals, not the rights of groups. As to the let me get back to education for one last second. The New York State education law requires a sound secular education, and I've stuck to my guns on that point. After seeking to get on the Democratic primary, I was contacted by the certain leaders of the ultra-Orthodox community, trying to convince me that their schools are different and their society is different, and they shouldn't need to comply with the education law. And I told them everybody has the right to believe what they want and to associate with whomever they like. That's our First Amendment. But also we're a society that's based upon core principles, and one core principle of our country is individual liberty, and to have individual liberty you need to be educated. And that means receiving a sound secular education so that when you become an adult, you can make informed, educated choices about your own life, and you can also be an informed, educated citizen. So I have a guest today, Keith Chicklets. But before that, I would like to remind the viewers that I am running a independent campaign. My opponent is on the two major party lines, and I could really use the support of the listeners, either by volunteering your time to help me get out the message I'm trying to relate, or to send some campaign contributions. And you can do that by visiting my website, which is www.diederichforddistrictattorney.com, or call my office, and we can give you directions on how you can contribute or how you can volunteer. My office number is 845-942-0795, 845-942-0795. And actually, in that regard, I don't think any independent candidate has ever won at a countywide level an election in the state of New York, perhaps not even in the country. It will be unprecedented if I can win this election. But I think it's equally unprecedented that for a vacant office, the two major parties selected the same person to run. I don't think that's ever happened before in the state of New York, and perhaps not in the county. My opponent has never prosecuted a criminal case or defended a criminal case. It's purely politics and special interests, in my opinion, that have caused him to become the candidate on the two major party lines. And I think it's unprecedented. I think it's an affront to our democracy, and I think every citizen and voter of this county should be offended by the fact that had I not gotten grassroots support and gotten on my Serve Rockland line, they would not have had a choice on Election Day this November. So I hope people can decide they'll be part of history and help me become the first independent to win a countywide office and to defeat a candidate who for the first time in history is on both major party lines when he's not an incumbent. So let me turn back to education, and I have with me today, my guest is Keith Chicklets, who's running also as an independent on the Serve America line. That's the SAM line. I'm on the Serve Rockland line. He's on the SAM line. We're Rose H and I on the ballot this year. So please go to the bottom of the line ballot and vote Rose H and I. Don't vote your normal party line, because if you're a Democrat, you're going to be voting for a Republican, and if you're a Republican, you're going to be voting for a Democrat. So go down to the independent lines, Rose H and I on the ballot, and vote for your SAM, Serve America line candidate, and me. I'm on the Serve Rockland line. So let me introduce Keith. Keith, good morning.
Morning, Mike. How you doing today?
How are you? How are you?
Okay.
I'd like to have you introduce yourself to my audience and indicate why you're running, and also, if you don't mind, put in a plug for sound secular education. So first, tell us about yourself.
My name is Keith Chicklets. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up on Long Island. I moved up to Rockland County back in February of '86. Spent most of this 33 years living in the town of Haverstraw. 20 years ago, I ran for town justice. I'm not a lawyer, but I do have a background in law. I've been teaching New York City, just started my 33rd year. I'm licensed in social studies, but I teach law as well. I've been doing that for the better part of 30 years. Intro to law, constitutional law, civil law, criminal law, just the basics of it. Giving students a background in law, decide to see if that's what they want to do as a career. I'm a family man. I have a wife and 2 sons. We just bought a house here in Garnerville, and I decided that when I stopped moving around, I was going to get back into politics, and I kept to my word. I want to see change.
Okay, yeah. So why are you running now? You're running in the town of Haverstraw, and I'm from Stony Point, so I'm a North Rocklander. I went to North Rockland High School, and I played a number of sports. Most of my people were co-players on the football team, and the tennis team were from Haverstraw. So, and Haverstraw is really known, and North Rockland sports for teamwork. So we have Howie Phillips up here, and Haverstraw, the supervisor. He's great at having the team. Democratic Party, which, by the way, I'm a Democrat. I respect how Democrats up here do things. But I also am a American citizen, and I like the idea of, I think we need the idea of competition in elections. So just having everybody from one party and no choice, I think, is bad. So I commend you for running. And so tell us, why are you running?
I'm running because I want to do stuff for my community. I've been a neighborhood activist in my neighborhood for the past few months, trying to get speed bumps put in and reduce the speed limit, because my street is a pass-through for people trying to avoid the light at 202 and Central. So I've been fighting to get my neighborhood safer. Back in April, I almost got the tail end of my car taken over by some guy coming speeding through my neighborhood. A friend of mine almost got run over, somebody speeding through that shouldn't have been going through. I want to be part of the community more than just being there. I want to be part of the people making the rules, not just following them. I want to be part of something bigger than myself.
Well, let me ask you this. The town board, and like I said, the Haverstraw, Ramapo too, has a very strong Democratic Party and teamwork. But if you're on the town board, do you think you can raise issues that perhaps other Democrats won't raise because they might be worried about ruffling the feathers of other Democrats?
I'm going to raise what issues I feel need to be raised based on what the citizens tell me. I'm going to be a resident's representative. Okay, I got a phone number that I set up just for the campaign, and should I win, it'll stay there for any citizen that wants to ask me questions. That number is 845-553-9435. All you have to do is call, leave your name and number, and whatever question you have, and I'll do whatever research I need to do and get back to you as soon as possible. It's not going to be easy. I'd be outnumbered on the board, but we have to start raising questions. We have to start doing things. I'm not saying I'm not going to be a team player. You can check with anybody that, in the DOE and stuff. I am a team player. People I've worked with, they know I'm a team player. I'll play along with what needs to be played along with, but if I feel something is not right, I'll question it.
So you'll be the loyal opposition.
Yeah, you can put it that way, but again, I'm going to do what needs to be done for the citizens. Try to get the citizens more involved in government. Bring government back to the people. I think people are feeling that the government is not serving their interests as well as they want. And again, I'm not saying that the boards in the village of Haverstraw, West Haverstraw, and the town council aren't doing their job. They're doing their jobs, but people are seeing what's going on in the nation with the political parties and stuff. And people I've spoken to are fed up with politics as usual. They want change.
Well, I've noticed that. I mean, when I was out trying to get petitions as a Democrat, there was a lot of hostility from both Democrats and Republicans. People fed up with the politicians in Washington. And when I started going out as independent and now running as independent, people seem to really appreciate that. And people, I think, are sick of the polarization and the fighting and the animosity at the national level. And I just see people are very interested in having local government work for the people and get civility back to our politics so we can rationally discuss issues. So I think that's probably why you're running.
Well, what's happening at the national level will eventually filter down to the local level. It has to. We're talking trickle-down politics here. Forget about trickle-down economics, we're talking trickle-down politics.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think of it as trickle-up politics, though, because what we're having is people like us who are deciding we're going to try to change things from the bottom up and get grassroots support of people who are fed up and want to support independents like us. Steve, do we have a question?
Yes, we do have a caller for you, Mike.
Good morning, Mike. Hi.
Good morning.
My name is Linda. The whole thing is with the people let's blame the ultra-Orthodox. The ultra-Orthodox is like they go out and exercise their rights. They go out and vote. They go out and vote in blocks. A lot of our people, everybody, including everybody in Rockland County, there's more of us than the ultra-Orthodox. People don't go out and vote, and then they sit around and complain. If everybody go out and vote independently for you, do not vote party line, you will win. But people do not go out and vote. They sit there and complain and point the fingers and scapegoat.
Yeah, Keith, what do you think of that?
You're absolutely right, ma'am. What did you say? Was Linda? I'm sorry?
Linda, yeah.
Hi, Linda.
Linda.
No, you're absolutely right. I teach history, and I teach government, and I teach law. And I understand that, and it's an off-year election. A lot of people don't get out and vote in an off-year election. But you're right. It's what I tell people. We need to get people out there to vote. And those that get out there and vote are the ones
the
that...
ultra-Orthodox, they united, they stick together, and they go out and vote. We outpower them. We are more than the ultra-Orthodox in Rockland County. If we all go out and vote, stop complaining, and go out and vote, do not vote party line, and we'll be more successful.
Well, that's the message Mike and I are trying to get out here, is that we need to get out and vote, and we need to get out and vote for people who are going to bring the change to the county and to the local governments. I'm Jewish, and I understand them going out and voting as a bloc, and if anything, I applaud them for getting out and exercising their rights. But again, what Mike was saying about the secular education in that community, if they're going to be going out and voting, then their children have to understand what it's all about. Why we're getting out and voting, why we have the rules that we have, why we have the rights that we have.
Exactly.
We need to have
what we need to do is win the election, and then we set, we set standards. That's all. We just have to win the election.
Unfortunately, the standards for state education are set up in Albany, and right now we're dealing with a local
we'll enforce
issue.
it. We have to win the election, then enforce it.
Exactly.
But until then, I get really upset when people start pointing the fingers. The ultra-Orthodox. Well, they're united. They go out and vote. That's what they vote together in a block.
Okay, and let me chime in here for a second, because I want to make clear my position. My position is I don't like us versus them politics, and like Keith mentioned, he's Jewish. I think religion should have nothing to do with politics. That's why we have the Establishment Clause, keeping the founding fathers designed our country to be where politics and religion are kept separate. So I've been around the world. I met people from all different religions and ethnic groups, cultures, and I don't like having us versus them. But my criticism is of the ultra-Orthodox leadership.
I'm coming.
It's of the ultra-Orthodox leadership, not the people.
Okay, Mike, I'm sorry to cut you off, but my right is here. I got to go.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes.
Get out and vote. Make sure you tell everybody to get out and vote. Row H and row I.
Bye-bye.
Help us out.
So my beef is with the leadership, and my beef is also with the political leaders of our county and the state that are not enforcing the law equally as to everyone. And if every child received an adequate secular education, I don't think we'd be talking about blocks. We'd be talking about what's good for the people, all the people. And everybody has their ethnic and religious diversity. That's what America is all about. But America isn't, like I said before, I don't believe America is about us versus them.
Well, it's really not us versus them, Mike. We do have competition, and that's the mainstay of our society. As far as block voting, even with a good secular education, you're going to have people block voting because they're going to vote in their communities, and communities are going to be looking out for themselves, and you're going to have block voting. Is it right? Well, that's our system. It allows for people to vote how they want. If they want to vote as a block, they vote as a block because they want to, get things. They want to be the ones in power to get what they want. I can understand that.
And by the way, so we have the theoretical and we have the practical. And the practical right now and today in Rockland County and New York is the ultra-Orthodox block vote is tremendously powerful politically. And that's why people have to realize that the block this election are supporting my opponent on both the Democratic and Republican lines, and why the people have to please get out there and say, this year we're going to vote for the independent candidates, which are, you and this other Sam Serve America line candidates on row H, and me for district attorney on the Serve Rockland line, row I, because the practicality is the bloc is going to vote per the directions of their leadership, and therefore if we want to have leaders in government who are not bloc controlled, the people are going to have to exactly do what you said. Going to have to go out there and vote for the independent candidates, who are us.
As I've been out campaigning and I'm talking to people, and I tell them that the Sam Party is looking to get away from everyday politics, people's faces light up. Like, wow, we got somebody that's not an establishment candidate. It's not somebody that's going to just follow along. There's somebody that's going to want to look at what we want, and that's the main thing I'm running on. To be a citizen's representative, represent all the citizens, regardless of race, creed, color, religion, or anything else.
And I've written and spoken about this. I think what the country, the state, and the county needs right now is a third party, like Sam is trying to be. Because what's happening right now in the country, the state, and the county, we see it in the county recently with people screaming at each other and calling each other names and this and that. We see polarization where you're either on one side or the other. And I think what a third party can do is exactly what Sam has done this year. It's selected some Democrats and some Republicans, people who are basically moderate in their view and who stand for, let's represent the people. And what I think that'll do, having a third party that's moderate, it will also moderate the extremes in the Democratic and the Republican parties to bring those elected people back to the middle, because they'll realize the middle is where Americans want their elected leaders to be. Most Americans believe in the same things, or any issue. I think most Americans are going to believe on 95% of the issue. Take any contentious issue like gun control. Everybody, I think, almost everybody is going to agree, no, you can't have a tank, you can't have a machine gun. I mean, people can agree on most things, regardless of party. So I think the Sam Party, again, is a moderating force which is needed in America today and in our county today. What do you think?
Well, one of the things you mentioned about the gun control, the people that want all this gun control are all they do is tie the hands of the law-abiding citizens.
Yeah, but let's not. Let's stick
right.
with local
as far
issues.
As locally.
And by the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but what I found is when you start talking these big national issues that are polarizing, it almost immediately hurts discussion on the local issues. And what people want to discuss in Rockland are things like the quality of life here, the things I'm addressing with my DA campaign, because I think as a DA candidate I can help preserve our quality of life, have equal justice for all, have equal enforcement of the law, reduce the various fraud we see. And by the way, that brings me to the reason for my program. By the way, everybody who's listening, I'll put in my little plug. Mike Diederich, I'm running for district attorney, and I hope you can help my campaign either by volunteering your time or your money. And please go to my website, diederich4districtattorney.com, DIEDERICH, 4districtattorney.com, or give me a call at my office, my law office in Stony Point, 845-942-0795, because I need help as an independent to win as an independent. Okay, sorry, Keith, I cut you off.
Okay. On the local level, I said we need to get back to protecting everybody's rights, and not this, okay, you can believe what you want as long as you do it our way. Everybody has a right to speak. Everybody has a right to be heard, and I want to hear what everybody has to say, whether you agree with me, disagree with me. If you disagree with me, give me your facts. Don't give me just emotion. Don't give me just, well, because this, that, or the other thing. Give me the facts as to why you disagree with me, and I'll debate with you, anything that needs to be debated. I'll discuss anything with anybody. But we need to get back to grassroots. We need to get back to what, excuse me, the Founding Fathers wanted to set up as our government. Government's supposed to be a public service, not a career. I'll stay on as long as I can get the votes. If I can get on. But we need to have people out there that are going to look out for what they call the forgotten man. People that are looking out for politics
or women. Don't forget the women.
Forgotten man meaning forgotten humans. Okay, forgotten people. One of the things, I have a card that I give out. On the bottom of it says, serving the people's interest over political interest. I'm not playing politics. I'm playing people. I'm playing what the people want, the people need, the people desire. Now, from what I've been told, talking to people, the biggest question on thing is taxes. We feel we're having taxes too high. This goes back to the 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago with the Marant is pronounced,
Well,
the electric company
right.
that had their problems.
The school taxes also,
school taxes.
county taxes. I think half of county taxes now are Medicaid related, Medicare related, and there's these growing taxes at every level, which the people just feel it. They don't maybe add up all the different items. I mean, their school taxes and their town taxes and their solid waste authority taxes and state and federal. When you add it all up, then it's ow. But people are feeling it, and especially in this region, which is we're the highest taxed, second highest taxed county in the nation, I think.
I'm still doing the research, but I've been told that the town has what the state calls an excessive surplus. We got to do things to, see what's going on there. If the town has that much of a surplus, we need to find out why and do something about it for the people.
I think,
and getting back to secular education, what you were saying, like I said before, people need to have a well-rounded education. Be
actually, let me drill down with you on that. Because when we were speaking before, you mentioned without adequate education, including, for example, the study of history. I mean, I'm a student of history and science, and I think both are crucial to understanding the world and how people get along with each other. I think understanding history is vital to avoiding conflict. What do you think of that?
It is
for high school students, let's say.
For any student, to be at high school, college, elementary, middle school, every child, every adult, every person who's in school needs to have a basic idea of what's going on in the world. The biggest reason we have prejudice and hatred is because people are afraid of the unknown. If you know somebody and you know their culture, you understand their culture, then it makes it easy to deal with people. We're in a global society these days. Everybody's interactive globally. If you don't understand what goes on in a particular country, then you can jeopardize your job, you can jeopardize your career, you can jeopardize anything that has to do with it. Because if you make a mistake on, with another country's, somebody from another country, you could cost your company millions of dollars. If you don't understand what's going on in the world, you're going to be questioning things the wrong way. You're going to look at people the wrong way. We need a well-rounded education, be it religious and secular combined or whatever. You need to follow the rules. You need to be able to understand what goes on in this country and why it goes on. And without a good secular education, this is my 33rd year teaching in New York City. I've taught in Crown Heights. I've taught in James Monroe High School. I've been around the Bronx the past 5 years in different schools because my school closed. And it's something that we need to do. The areas I've taught in are inner city areas that are mostly African American and Hispanic, and I teach them I try to teach them the values that I am putting forth here now.
Well, it seems to me, studying the history of the world, what we found in the history of the world is when people have better education, and we see that post-World War II in Europe and Japan, industrialized countries. When people have better education, there's less conflict and less war. It's a better society. You have lower birth rates, so you don't have huge population growth because people don't need huge families to provide for their future. They don't have to worry about
that. Deals with the industrialization of the planet.
But don't you think education? It allows for individual prosperity, which means you don't have to steal things. You don't have to commit crime. So education is from my point of view, it's both needed for the individual, for their self-fulfillment and prosperity, and it's also needed for the democracy because we need an educated electorate. What do you think of that?
You're right, and we need. Thomas Jefferson talks about freedom of the press and the education and people's ability to think, but also you look at all the revolutions that overturned governments in the world over the history. It was started by the intelligentsia, by the people who were educated that realized their rights were being abused, and what they were being abused, and they had the lower classes fight those wars. The intelligentsia starts them because they're educated and they understand when their rights are being abused. And people who are not educated, I'm not saying people in this country, there are some people in this country that aren't, but because they either choose not to or whatever, but we need to have an educated society to be able to make informed decisions in our politics, in our lives, and in our government.
I got to put in a plug for my own personal view of the Constitution in my, having served in the military in Iraq and Afghanistan and 29 years, including in the Cold War in Germany. I mean, I view myself as a patriot, and I do believe in American exceptionalism in this sense. It's the creedal aspect of our country. We're not a country of a race that makes us great. We're a country that the Founding Fathers and our ideas about individual liberty, that's the gem that the Founding Fathers and their Enlightenment thinking provided to us. And that creation of our democracy, they were so wise as to tell us, if we have civil debate and we have government where we have checks and balances, where institutions can combat institutions, and the whole structure of our government is checks and balances and understanding that people are fallible and greedy and whatnot. And if you have government where you have civil discourse and power balancing power, you can have a democracy that works. And the foundation of that is, in my view, is sound secular education.
Well, it is. You have to know where we've been and where we are to understand where we're going. And if you don't understand, like Santayana said, those who do not remember history are condemned to repeat it. And we can't repeat the mistakes of the past. We have to move on.
I couldn't agree more. Again, Mike Diederich, I'm running for district attorney as an independent, and I need your support. My phone number, 845-942-0795. My website is diederichfordistrictattorney.com. I need volunteers to help get out literature and spread the word, and I need campaign contributions, and any help that you can give will be appreciated for our historic win of having an independent win in a county-wide race this year.
And we can do the same on the SAM line. Volunteers and people donating and their time and money to help us to do what we need to do for the people.
That's rows H and I in the bottom of the ballot. SAM, Serve America, and Serve Rockland. Thank you.
And thank you, Mike, and we'll see you again next week.